500,000 people. That is how many died in the War of the Five Kings. 500,000 soldiers, small folk, children, all burned, starved, or slaughtered. And it all traces back to one man's choices, Ned Stark, the Honorable Ned Stark, the moral center of Game of Thrones, the hero we all loved. Today I'm going to prove that his honor, his rigid, uncompromising honor, was one of the most destructive forces in Westeros, and we've been calling him a hero for it. Now, before you click away or rage in the comments, hear me out. I get it. I love Ned Stark too. He's loyal, he's principled, he loves his family. In a world full of schemers and bastards, Ned is the one good man trying to do the right thing. He's everything we want to be. But here is what George R.R. Martin is actually showing us. Westeros doesn't need a good man. It needs a good ruler. And those are not the same thing. A good man does what makes him feel righteous. A good ruler does what saves the most lives, even when it's ugly, even when it compromises his personal virtue. Ned Stark chose personal honor every single time, and the difference between those two choices, it cost 500,000 lives. So, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through Ned's major decisions in Season 1 or Book 1 of A Game of Thrones and trace each choice to its direct consequences. We will look at the body count, we will look at the economics, we will look at what a more pragmatic leader would have done differently. And by the end of this video, I think you would see Ned Stark the way Martin intended, not as a villain, but as a tragic cautionary tale about good intentions paving the road to hell. Because Westeros didn't need Ned's honor, it needed his wisdom, and it didn't have any. Let us begin. Our story starts in the very first chapter, the very first scene. Ned Stark executed deserter from the Night's Watch. The man fled his post. The law is clear. Desertion equals death, and Ned B. Ned believes the man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. Very noble, very honorable. So he executes him clean, quick, justice served. Except why did the man desert? This ranger, trained, seasoned, a brother of the Night's Watch for years, abandons his post and flees south in absolute terror. He's reading about White Walkers, about the others, about the dead rising, and Ned writes it off as madness. He never interrogates him, never asks for details, never sends a raven to the wall to investigate. The law says the man must die, so Ned kills him and moves on. But here's the thing, that deserter was telling the truth. The White Walkers were rising. This was the first concrete warning anyone in Westeros had about the existential threat that would eventually breach the wall and nearly destroy humanity. And Ned Stark ignored it, because the law said execute, and Ned doesn't question the law. Now contrast this with someone like Tywin Lannister. Tywin doesn't execute first and ask questions later. Tywin would have interrogated the man, extracted every piece of information, sent scouts to verify, then executed him if necessary. But Tywin would have had intelligence. He would have known what was coming. He could have prepared the realm. Ned's rigid honor, it meant Westeros lost years of warning about the apocalypse. The Night's Watch stayed undermanned and ignored. The realm stayed focused on petty political squabbles instead of the real threat. First warning, first failure, and it's only chapter 1. But that's not the big one. The big one comes later. Ned discovers the truth. Joffrey, Tommen, and Myrcella are not Robert's children. They are bastards born of incest between Cersei and Jaime Lannister. Joffrey has no claim to the throne. Stannis Baratheon is the rightful heir. This is the most dangerous secret in Westeros, and Ned has to decide what to do with it. So what does he do? He goes to Cersei, alone, and he warns her. Take your children and flee, he says. I'm going to tell Robert the truth, but I'll give you a head start. Save your children. It is one of Ned's most heartbreaking moments. He is haunted by the memory of Robert's rebellion, when he saw Rhaegar Targaryen's infant children murdered and dumped at Robert's feet. He doesn't want that to happen again. He wants to protect innocent kids. So he gives Cersei mercy, and Cersei uses that mercy to kill King Robert. The hunting incident, the boar, Robert dies. Joffrey takes the throne. Ned tries to reveal the truth, but it's too late. He gets arrested. Instead, Joffrey executes him. Robb Stark calls his banners to avenge his father, and the War of the Five Kings begins. 500,000 dead. The riverland burned to ashes. Harvest destroyed. Small folk raped, murdered, left to serve. Entire village wiped off the map. Area chapters in the book walk us through the devastation. Orphans, corpses rotting in the sun, survivors eaten back to stay alive. All because Ned chose mercy for 3 children over the stability of the entire realm. Now, let's talk about the alternative. What if Ned had gone straight to Robert, told him immediately? Robert would have been furious. He would have killed Cersei and the kids himself, or he might have exiled them. Either way, it's contained. Stannis become the heir. There is a transition of power. Maybe some Lannister resistance, but nothing like a continent-wide war. Or, and hear me out. What if Ned had been smart about it? What if he had done what Littlefinger or Varys would do? Use the information as leverage. Negotiate a peaceful transition. Control the situation instead of blundering in with honor demands, I do this. But Ned couldn't do that, because Ned doesn't compromise. And here's the cruel math. Ned chose to protect 3 lives, Joffrey, Tommen, Myrcella, at the cost of 500,000 others. 500,000 children, mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters. Ned's honor saved 3 and killed hundreds of thousands. That's not morality. That's not heroism. That's emotional decision making, dressed up as a virtue. But we are not done, because Ned's make more catastrophic choice. He's in the black cells. Joffrey's got him. Cersei offers a deal. Confess to treason, take the black, and your daughters will be safe. Ned doesn't want to. Confessing to treason means admitting Joffrey is the rightful king. It means lying. It means dishonoring himself. But he does it for Sansa and Arya. He swallows his pride, stands in front of the sept of Baelor, and says the words, I am a traitor. Joffrey is the rightful king. It's supposed to be his most selfless moment. Fatherly love over personal honor. Beautiful, right? Except Joffrey executes him anyway. Sansa stays hostage. Arya is on the run. The confession saves no one. But worse than that, Ned's confession legitimizes Joffrey's claim. Now, in the eyes of the realm, the Stark rebellion is officially treason. Ned Stark admitted it himself. Robb isn't fighting for justice or the rightful succession. He's a traitor's son leading a traitor's war. That confession haunts the Starks for the rest of the series. Every time someone calls Robb the young wolf, there's always the shadow of his father was a traitor. It delegitimizes their cause. It makes other houses hesitant to support them. Now imagine the alternative. Ned refuses to confess. He stands tall and uses his final moment to shout the truth. Joffrey is a bastard. The throne belongs to Stannis Baratheon. Yes, he dies. He dies anyway. But now the truth is public. Thousands of witnesses hear it. Robb fights a legitimate war for the rightful succession. Stannis gains support earlier. The political landscape is completely different. But Ned couldn't do it. He thought he was saving his daughters. He thought one more compromise would fix everything. Instead, he damned his entire family and gave Joffrey the legitimacy to rule unchallenged. So let's take a step back. 3 massive decisions, 3 catastrophic outcomes. But here's the part we miss. Ned's honor wasn't selfless, it was about him. He couldn't live with the idea of executing children, so he warned Cersei, not to protect them, but to protect his own conscience. He couldn't bear the guilt. He couldn't die with a lie on his lips, so he confessed. Not to save his daughters, but it's because he didn't, but to ease his own sense of dignity in his final moment. He couldn't investigate the deeper truths behind the deserter story because moral complexity offended his black and white worldview. The law was clear, that was enough for him. Ned's honor was rigid, inflexible, and ultimately selfish. It prioritized his moral purity over the messy, brutal reality of leadership. And George R. R. Martin knows this. He said in interviews that Ned is a hero from a simpler story, a token-style fantasy where honor always wins, but he's been dropped into a complex, morally grey world where honor gets you killed. The books frame Ned as tragic, not aspirational. His point of view chapters are full of doubts he refuses to examine. He clings to his father's lessons, to the old ways, because thinking beyond them is too uncomfortable. And that rigidity, it made him predictable, exploitable. Cersei knew exactly what he would do. Littlefinger knew exactly how to manipulate him. Now let's compare Ned to leaders who actually succeeded in Westeros. Tywin Lannister, ruthless, cold, pragmatic, but he gave the realm 20 years of peace under Aerys' rule. He held the kingdom together through strategy and fear, not virtue. Olenna Tyrell, she did what she had to do to protect her family. She murdered Joffrey to save Marjorie. Morally questionable? Absolutely. Effective? Completely. Doran Martell, patient, calculating, willing to wait decades for the right moment. He kept Dawn out of wars that would have bled his people dry. Even Robert Baratheon, drunk, lazy, terrible king, managed to keep the realm stable for 15 years through compromise and delegation. These leaders understood something Ned didn't. The realm doesn't care about your personal virtue. It cares about stability, safety, and survival. Ned's honor, it delivered none of those things. It delivered war, it delivered death, it delivered chaos. Good intentions without strategic thinking isn't heroism, it's disaster. So, is Ned Stark evil? No, it's not Joffrey, it's not Ramsay, it's not even Littlefinger. It's tragic. Ned Stark is a good man who would have been a great lord in peaceful times. If Westeros had stayed quiet, if Robert had ruled wisely, if the realm had been stable, Ned would have been remembered as a just and honorable wedding of the North. But Westeros wasn't peaceful. It was a powder keg of ambition, secrets, and grudges waiting to explode. And Ned Stark struck the match with the best of intentions. The real reason here isn't that honor is bad. It's that leadership isn't about personal virtue. It's about outcomes. And Ned Stark outcomes were catastrophic. We love Ned because he's relatable. He's what we want to believe would be in his position. The one good person who refuses to compromise, who stands by his principles no matter what. But Martin is showing us something uncomfortable. In a world this complex, this brutal honor without wisdom is just another form of pride. And pride is what comes before the fall. Let's do a thought experiment. Imagine if Ned had been just a little more pragmatic. What if he had interrogated the deserter and sent word to the world about the White Walkers? The realm gets years of early warning. The Night Watch gets reinforcements. Humanity is prepared. What if you had told Robert about the incest immediately? Controlled transition of power. Stannis becomes heir. Maybe Tywin tries something, but without Joffrey on the throne, he has no legitimacy. A brief conflict maybe, but nothing like the War of the Five Kings. What if Ned had refused to confess and died proclaiming the truth? Robb fights a legitimate war for succession. Stannis gains more support. The Stark cause isn't tainted by treason. In that world, Westeros looks completely different. Hundreds of thousands of people live. The Stark survive as a united house. The realm is stronger and more prepared for the new threats. The Walker, Daenerys, whatever comes next. But all of that required Ned to compromise, to think strategically, to accept that the world is grey, not black and white. And Ned Stark couldn't do that. That is not honor, that is stubbornness, and it killed 500,000 people. So, what do you think? Am I being too harsh on Ned Stark, or have we been romanticizing a character whose honor caused more harm than good? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Defend Ned, tear my arguments apart. Tell me where I am wrong, because that's what makes this fun. We're all trying to make sense of this brutal, beautiful story together. And if you want me to put another character under the microscope, maybe Daenerys, maybe Stannis, maybe Tywin, let me know. Vote in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more analysis that challenges how we see Game of Thrones and fantasy in general, hit that subscribe button because we're just getting started. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.